This will be economic. Only this, when you have all three of them, do you have sustainability. In the others, you have something somewhat workable. This would be considered viable. This would be considered equitable. And the one in here, bearable. Okay, so because we're talking about something normative, I don't really have any definitive answers. Can you think of examples where we have social sustainability but not environment and economic? I slept in, I didn't get my coffee quota, so I almost had to cancel class as well because my poor little doggy's had cancer for over a year. So he's at the vet and she was late and he's got like butt cancer. And so they've got to do the thumb up the rear end. And anyway, so I was going to stay with them and then I had to over here. Anyway, he's going to be done pretty soon, so lucky you guys. Okay, back to my question. Can you think of an example that's socially sustainable but not other?
Inefficient production for the purpose of creating jobs.
Yeah, you can think of this as what government does quite a lot. We try to make things sustainable, like low-cost housing or job creation. It's not environmentally sustainable in some cases, depending on the resources used, and it might not be economically sustainable. So is it worth it? Should we do that? So you should be able to think of an example for each one of these. What about economically sustainable but socially and environmentally not? I can think of a very good example, and I'm going to show you yeah, exactly. The tar sands are economically sustainable. Well, maybe they are, maybe they're not. In the short run, we could say that they are. Socially sustainable? Depends on the people living there. Environmentally sustainable? Most definitely not. Does not look so good. I said to you guys on the first day or somewhere around there, I was born and raised in Uranium City. And has anybody been there? I guess not. It's a ghost town now. And it's in northern Saskatchewan. If you look at Saskatchewan, shaped like this, something like this, there's Lake Athabasca. Fort McMurray and the tar sands are over here. Here's Uranium City. So it's up by the, whatever, 59. The road stops about here. Here's L'Orange, something like that. So up another, I don't know, 500 kilometers or something. So it's fly-in only. There was a thriving town there, 3,500 people, maybe up to 5,000 in the 40s. Gold mine, uranium, of course, other kinds of things. Company town, basically one mine, and they announced a closure in 1981 on December 3rd. And at the end of that school year, thousands of people left. The town today is a ghost town. So a few people live there, like 80 people. I have no idea what they're doing. And you would not believe the destruction. It looks like it was bombed. So I went up in 2001, made a video. So I'm going to bring in the video and show you what it looks like now and some pictures of what it looked like then. And this is an example where, is it socially sustainable? No, because the town was completely wiped out. Environmentally sustainable? There's so much radioactivity there now. SRC is up there looking at Gunner and other mine sites and wondering what to do with the radioactive material, which strikes me as odd, because when we think of sustainability and trade-offs, if you take the radioactive material from here, where practically nobody lives, where are you going to put it? Right? Where are you going to move it? Why would you move it? Why disturb it? So environmentally, you're not supposed to eat the fish there anymore because you wind up with babies with 9 heads and stuff like that. Economically, no, the mine's gone and it's evolved to become chemical. So if you look at that example and mining in the north of Saskatchewan now, what do you see? Do you see towns everywhere? Mining towns?
There's no camps.
Yeah, they're mostly camps, right? Fly in, fly out, Key Lake, Cluff Lake, all the other places.
Cheaper.
Yeah, why is that? It's because they do not want to deal with social sustainability. It's very difficult to do that. Okay.
It's really strange. Why we are kind of dividing social, economic, and environment? It should be the one. Because
So what you're saying is that we should be in here.
Yeah, I understand, but you know, I think as I explained to myself, this kind of thing that exists in our minds, it's we people kind of putting environment, human, you know, and economy. But look at the nature. This is the one system. This is the bench.
I think you're right. We're working one.
Yeah.
We're actually in one system, and we have our resources, we have our cultures and our needs and our wants. That's the reality.
Maybe that's why we have problems, because we are still dividing all that stuff.
That's true, but that's where we are, and it's because people are driven by different things. You have companies driven by economic goals, and that's the way it is, right? Those are the incentives. That's how they behave. It's rational, but the environment is something to be used or abused. And if we don't have the right set of property rights and incentives, then this will be abused.
But who gave you a right to abuse the environment? Just your mother.
That's just the way it is. Okay? So think about examples where we have social and economic and it's equitable. Think of examples where we have socially and environmental sustainability. We would consider that bearable. It's not economic, so people are not doing that well, but it's bearable.
And do you, in the Bachelor of the Circumpolar Studies, there was some kind of discussion that the system that we have now is close to the crisis. And the system that Aboriginal people had is much more kind of sustainable, because actually they don't, divide all this stuff. Look at
The point being raised is that Aboriginal people had a more sustainable system in history because they viewed environment and they had smaller societies, and they had their economies. That may be true in one point in time, but what can we say about that now?
Yeah, like, how could you ever go back to that is what it is. Like, it's not, I don't think anyone would think that was socially bearable now.
No.
And
Or
that's why
economic.
the society say maybe we need to use the principles of what that existed before.
I think
Just to do something
we
like
can't
PPP.
compare what happened before with the way things are now. And there's one key reason. What is that reason? We talked about it on day one. What was missing back then that required trade-offs and economic decision-making?
Technology.
Not technology, something else.
Greed.
Not greed, no, that's not part of it. Scarcity. Think of the population. When we talk about First Nations communities, think about the population versus the land base.
Yeah, but they took just exactly that amount they would need, just limiting their lives.
Okay, so they did, but that didn't lead to unsustainable behavior. Why?
Meaning?
Why was it not unsustainable
There's enough
100 years ago?
resources to sustain everyone.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough land for everyone to have an
Yeah.
unlimited amount.
There's enough animals to trap and eat and
But they
drive
lived
off
thousands
cliffs
of years
and
ago.
whatever. So
They
you've
lived
got a
thousands of
society,
years
hang on, you've got a society that's relatively small. You've got an environment where we've got resources that are not scarce. When you have enough to go around, you don't have to make a decision. And an economic system such that they traded and engaged in certain economic activity, that was sustainable. But today, we can never go back to that. Today, we have a society that's quite vast. We have scarcity in the environment. You can look at all kinds of things. Fur-bearing animals, caribou, various, for whatever reasons, there's scarcity. And the economic situation has changed. And if we go back to what I had on the board before, it's because of this idea of consumption. People do not want to live the way they lived 100 years ago. Give them a choice and you say you can have this kind of a dwelling, or you can have this kind of a dwelling with TV and all the amenities. People are going to choose the higher level of welfare. And I mean welfare in terms of well-being.
That's the problem.